Income, Eric Upchurch, co-founder of Active Duty Passive Income. I'm here with you today with retired Air Force veteran and ADPI contributor Brett Robinson. He is our in-house credit magician. I like to say that. But we're excited to have you on here today to talk about credit and things that veterans and active duty service members need to know about the thing that nobody likes to talk about, which is credit, or maybe we don't understand it. Certainly, I've had my ups and downs with credit from coming out of college to where I am today. And now as a real estate investor, my credit swings from 812 to 780 on a monthly basis. So let's talk about some of this stuff. Before we get into it, guys, if you want to connect with Brett after this call, activedutypassiveincome.com/resources. Sign up for a free credit consult with Brett. He is an educator in this industry. He is a veteran, as I said. So, Brett, give a quick intro on yourself. I'm glad you're here.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for having me, man. It's been such an honor and a pleasure, joining the team and being a part of the movement. I'm very passionate about it. We met couple years ago in DC, watching you guys do your thing out the Military Influencers Conference, and it's just been something that I'm proud to be on board. I 20 years retired Air Force, had a lot of issues, and did a lot of things wrong dealing with credit. And then when I retired, I started researching credit and getting busy on my credit and getting ready to buy homes and all this. And I was like, man, I wish somebody would have taught me this stuff a long time ago, So I just started, making it. I'm a sponge, and I just started absorbing as much information as I could. And it turned into, I was working with veterans with disabilities. I worked with the Air Force Wounded Warrior program, doing some coaching. And then I got into the disability space, and then I got in my real estate license. And then through that, ended up coming on board with my credit guy as a veterans advocate. And I literally exist in the company to educate veterans and to look out for them. So, and that is exactly
why ADPI exists. Also, man, I wish I knew this stuff. Nobody's teaching you about your credit score, how to build it, how to maintain it, what it means, the impact,
how to leverage it.
Yeah. Right. So let's get into some of this. Give us a quick 60-second rundown on just the history of credit, and what is credit and why is it important?
Okay, so real quick, 60 seconds, right? Real quick rundown. Credit, you get a credit. Your credit score is literally telling people who are looking at you whether or not they're going to lend you money and whether or not you're likely to pay your debt back within the next 2 years, right? The likelihood of you repaying your debt in 2 years or during that 2-year window, okay? So they're going to give you a score based on that likelihood. It's a risk assessment. The FICO model, Fair Isaac's credit model, the FICO score, here's a little tidbit, was invented by Navy veterans. So Bill Fair and Earl Isaac were a data scientist and an engineer, and they wanted to work together after they got out of the Navy. So they developed a product that they then sold to companies to say, hey, we have an algorithm that can predict the likelihood of someone defaulting on a loan that you give them. And then, of course, these companies started adopting the FICO score model. And then since 1959, they have evolved the FICO score. And there's tons of different FICO scores out there. They're currently using FICO 8. FICO 9 is available for use. But there's all these different types of FICO scores out there. The regular average American walks around with an average of more than 38 credit scores. All right. So that is something else that a lot of people aren't aware of. Yeah. That is all because of who you're doing business with throughout your life.
And normally we see 3, right? We know of like the big 3, TransUnion, Equifax, and the third one.
How come they're not the same scores? You don't want them to be the same scores because then, you don't got a fighting chance. You want to have different scores because there's 3 different looks at your risk assessment. Right. And then, a business may do there may be a business doing reporting to Equifax and not to Experian. You may be doing business with somebody that reports to TransUnion and doesn't report to the other 2, or reports to all 3, like a Capital One. Capital One will report to all 3 of the credit bureaus. They want to get the information from all 3 credit bureaus when they do an inquiry if you fill out a credit card application with them.
Awesome.
Amex goes to Equifax. Like they want to get
so
your
it's all it's variable, but in general, the FICO score, for those of you out there are wondering what the heck is my credit score, and maybe why is it so low, or why is it so high, or why does it matter? It's a measure of how likely you are based on your history of payments,
right,
of how likely you are to make those payments and to pay off that debt in a certain amount of time. So that's awesome.
It's a risk assessment, right?
A risk assessment. Yeah, that's
high limits.
Look at it.
If you have high balances, you're riskier than someone with low balances, right? And that's 30% of your FICO score is credit utilization, right? If you don't have any credit cards and you only have a mortgage, well, now you want a credit card. Well, we've never seen you use a credit card. So your maybe mix of credits, that percentage, 10% of your FICO score is maybe lower than a guy like me who has, 8 credit cards and a mortgage and a car payment and, like all these other things.
So safe to say, if you're an enigma, if you have mysterious, unknown credit payment history with an institution,
active duty
then
spouses,
how are you going to how is a creditor going to know whether they should lend to you? Right. Okay. So
spouses who are at home with the children while husband or wife is doing their thing. They're like, I don't need credit.
Yeah. So you mentioned a mortgage earlier. So what does my credit score need to be to get a home loan?
So a lot of different numbers floating around about that. Of course, with veterans, we primarily deal with VA loans right now. The VA does not require a certain credit score.
I want to make that distinction. The Veterans Affairs, the VA, the Department of Veterans Affairs does not require a certain credit score.
That is correct.
People will often use that incorrectly and say, "Oh, the VA requires blah blah blah."
Right.
But it's the WHO that requires it. Who is it that requires it?
The myth is the VA requires a 640. Right. I think that's one of the most popular myths I've seen out there about the VA home loan is it requires a minimum of a 640. That is incorrect. Underwriters usually are looking for a 640 or above.
So the lender,
loan, the
lender, guys, it's the lender that's requiring it. The VA doesn't have that standard.
My little circle of life, my everyday existence in my world, I work with a lot of lending professionals every single day. I provide them information. I help them out. I help them with their clients. And I've seen them get veterans with 580s, VA loans. So that is absolutely incorrect that you need a certain score for a VA loan. Now, the conventional loans, a little different. 620 for a conventional FHA, of course, is in the 500s. You can see one, like I said, VA, usually lenders are shooting for 640 or above.
So let me interrupt you for a sec. Why would a lender have a higher standard for a VA loan than an FHA or conventional?
I'm not.
You're not a lender, so we could talk to our in-house lending team on that one.
But I have my own. I have my own answer for that. We have a few things waived, so I think they're more like, well, we want to make sure.
Ability to pay back the loan, right?
Right.
So it's a risk calculation.
And we're more likely to sell a home faster than the regular average American, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so the banks are knowing that we're probably coming right back in a couple years down the road and coming to give that house to someone else or, coming back. So that loan for them they're not going to make that much money on us, right? Right. That's what this whole thing is about, is making money off of us.
What?
Right? So, we need their money, and they need to make money off the money they give us, right?
All right. So for our listeners, how would one, either active duty or veteran, get their credit ready to buy a home?
Great question. Getting your credit ready. First off, when I'm working with people, I ask them, do you know your FICO score? And they say, well, according to this app on my phone that over 100 million Americans use, right? I don't know if I can say the name or not. It's CK. They're like, my credit score is, and I'm like, well, that's not your accurate credit score. Here's why. They use a mixture of the Vantage score. They don't use Experian. They don't have access to your Experian scores. TransUnion and Equifax, by the way, provide that. Oh, here we go.
There we go. We're back.
Sorry about that. So if you are using the app with the initial CK, they're using what's called the Vantage score that was invented in 2007. buy in partnership with the credit bureaus. All right. So this is a very controversial topic. And I'm like, oh, we may not have time to get into a VantageScore versus your FICO score, but the credit bureaus have to pay FICO every time they pull your FICO score. And it is very expensive. It is about $10 a pull. They can get your Vantage score for about 20 cents, 2 cents, depending on the frequency, right? So they are more inclined to want to use the Vantage score, and they're trying to make the Vantage score, they took FICO to court. They want a Vantage score to also weigh as much as your FICO score, but they failed.
So weird to hear that there's some bureaucracy in there.
Yeah, the credit bureau's in charge of our credit scores, right? Because you let the fox in the hen house, then, right?
So what if I don't have any credit and I want to go buy my first house and say, we obviously have our book, Military House Hacking. It teaches you how to buy 1 to 4 unit property with no deposit, no earnest money.
It's a great book.
And so if I'm an E5 living off post now, I want to go buy a fourplex and I don't have any credit though.
Yeah.
What do I do?
All right, so we want to get your credit report pulled, right? We recommend in our company, we recommend a company called Identity IQ because that pulls a tri-merge bureau, right? It's a tri-merge. It pulls all 3 bureaus and it sits them up nice and together, column 1, 2, 3. Puts the bureau side by side. It's an easy breakdown to see what we need to work on. If you don't have credit, right, there's manual underwriting that lenders can do. Like I said, I'm not a lender, but there's manual underwriting that if you've got your money in the bank and your proof of income and all that, they could get you a loan, right? There's ways to do it. But if you don't have credit, you can't get credit quickly off of somebody else who has good credit.
Okay,
right?
Talk about that for a second, because I'm even on credit from 1982. And so I know that you can put your kids on rider on as a rider, or your parents can put you on as a rider. Right. I don't know if the rider is the right term, but yeah. And
it's called an authorized user, Eric. Yeah,
authorized user. Yeah, and so then there's so let me just ask you this: is it wise or is it advantageous to, knowing you have, say, 6 months to a year before you're going to buy that fourplex and house hack it, or single family and house hack it at your next duty station, is it wise to go get a credit card to establish credit in some way, I should say?
If you are lacking in that department, then yeah, you need to kind of check that box, right? Because if you're looking for a certain credit score, then you're going to have to kind of turn the lights on, right? Yeah. If you break down credit, you get 300 points. You get a max of 850 for FICO, right? You get 300 points pretty much for just existing, right? Just for breathing. Remember, you used to sign tests and they'd be like, you get 100 for just signing your name. So, you could do promotion testing and they'd be like, you get points just for showing up on time, right? So they give you 300. So that gives you 550 points that you need to manipulate. And then by percentage, you can break down those points, right? So 35% for making payments on time, 30% for credit utilization. So stop there. If you don't have credit cards, you're not making a payment and you're not utilizing credit and you're not using that credit utilization rate, right? Where we want you to stay under 10%, ideally at 1% to get the most points out of that category. So that's 65% of your FICO score you're not utilizing. So you're already doing yourself a disservice. So what do we tell people that don't have credit? Well, go get a secured credit card. Put $300 on a card and then use 10% of it and then pay it down to 1%. And then let that thing marinate for a few months and watch your credit shoot up. Then get another card, another secured card, maybe after 3 months, or a little secured loan, right? That's going to benefit your credit score going into that year later when you're looking. Being an authorized user, inheriting someone's credit history, positive payments, credit utilization, as long as they're doing a good job and you inherit that, then you're going to shoot up. Because
so that's a great resource right there. If you're listening to this right now and you're like, man, I don't have any credit, or I could really use an improvement on my credit. Think about in your family who it is that would allow you to get on their credit, as long as they have good credit, and as long as you are responsible, right? You want to make sure that you're responsible. And here's some other resources for you. We've got the credit guide as a free download on our website, and we also have the financial blueprint, which will give you some financial foundations. We talk a little bit about assets, assets versus liabilities, good debt and bad debt in our book. Also, that's actually several resources on our website you can go to. And the other resource, activedutypassiveincome.com/resources. You can get a free call with Brett and actually sit down and kind of talk about your situation. We're not gonna be able to cover it all right here, but there are so many little intricacies, and everybody is different and got a unique situation. So I highly recommend you give Brett a call and figure out what you can do. So let me ask you another couple questions here before we wrap up. So does checking my credit hurt my score?
No, not when you do it, right? So when you check your own score, you do not, it's called a soft inquiry. You're checking your score because you're getting ready to make a major purchase, or you're worried about inaccuracies on you're allowed, because of what's called the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you are allowed to request your credit report. And actually, I just made a post on ADPI today about how to request that. It's on annualreport.com. It is an old school government sponsored website. It doesn't look legit. It is, because people are like, it's annualreport.com. Yes, it's annualreport.com. You go on that website, you fill out your information, and then it leads you to Equifax. It leads you to Experian, and it leads you over to TransUnion. And then you order your report separately from each three of the bureaus. Due to COVID, you're entitled to check your credit every month right now. So they passed that. They did.
I was going to ask that. I heard in the past it was you could only check it once a year per bureau or something like that, and so you'd want to be careful with that.
One time a year to check it under the FCRA, but because of COVID, they passed a bill where that will expire on April of 2022, Eric. So I did post a ton of info on, I think this week I'm actually talking about credit reports on ADPI. So I posted Monday about the importance of scrubbing your report for inaccuracies. Yesterday, I talked about some facts about your credit report. And today I talked about how to order it, what the FCRA, covers for us consumers. And then tomorrow I'll be posting some little facts about a credit report. So please look out for that. But yeah, so you want to scrub your credit report for inaccuracies. Each one, you want to check, are these balances paid off? If they've got false information, you might not be the only Eric Upchurch in America, right? Like some applications, believe it or not, they don't need your social security number to approve you, so they might need your name and your address and your phone number, and that's it, so.
But Brett, I don't know how to read my credit report. I don't know how to check for inaccuracies on Equifax. Like, what do I do? I don't know. I'm trying to get ready to buy this new home. I'm deployed. My wife is home, and we're trying to figure this out. And I don't know how to read my credit report. What do I do?
Well, you gotta get some education, right? you gotta contact Brett, right? You're gonna contact me. But now listen, our company, we do offer a free credit review. Now you do have to pay to get your credit report. We'd like to, but if you listen, here's the thing. This is what just baffles my mind. Credit monitoring is not accurate through the CK app, right? It's not accurate. It doesn't provide your FICO score. The two scores you get from the credit bureaus on the CK app are guesses. They're educational guesses that they provide CK as a partnership.
CK is the brand that you're talking about, right?
That's the app that over 100 million Americans use to monitor their credit, right?
Is that like the equivalent to like a Zillow's estimate that people talk about?
Okay. Yes. That company exists to sell you credit cards and insurance offers, and they exist to market to you. Yeah, as a free, nothing's free in America. But we sign up for free credit monitoring, and in turn, we give them our spending habits, and then they market that to the Visas and the Discovers and the, and to the banks and all this, and to the insurance companies. Now, that company sold for $16 billion in 2016.
I bet they did.
So let that sink in, right?
Yeah.
They are owned by Intuit, right? The tax people.
Sure.
They bought the company. So they have all your data. So they're not accurate. You need to get your accurate FICO scores, and we need to see where you're starting at and then where you need to be.
Okay.
All right. And we want to help you get there.
So guys, just like in everything else, there is a way to streamline the process. What I was getting at is, I don't know how to do this. I'm deployed. I'm busy, or I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm an athlete. Right. I'm busy with my W-2. I'm a, whatever I am, my job is busy. I'm not a professional tax guy. Just like when we started ADPI, I'm not a professional real estate investor yet. How do I do this? How do I house hack? If the knowledge is out there and there's somebody else there's a tried and true way to get there, go seek help. Go get a professional to help you do it the right way, you guys.
Right. And with us, Eric, I love that you brought that up, because it's like, hey, you can fix your own car, or you can take your car to a company and where there's a team of mechanics that hop on your car all at once, right? Yeah. And that's what at our company, you're getting people who are doing disputing for you right away. Then you're having access to an individual coach that's developing a strategy for you depending on what your goals are. You have access to our settlement team that will help you settle old collections, right? Like that's a misconception. People getting ready to buy a house, they're like, oh, I need to pay these collections off. No, you're waking up you're waking up a dead body, right? You're pulling that dead body out of the closet and saying, hey, what do I do with this dead body? And they're like, oh my God, you got a dead body, right? You are turning on that old account once you take action to that account. So don't do it. Speak to a professional, outline a strategy about how you're going to attack that. Make a negotiation with the company to say, hey, listen, if I settle this, can you get this off my credit report? And have a professional there with you on the phone when you negotiate with that company, right? Companies treat you a little differently when you have a third party there. They don't treat you like you're Eric from the streets, and they're like,
that's right.
You owe the money. We're going to, give us the money, or a lot of people are like, hey, I'm buying a house, I need to pay. Well, now they're going to use you needing to buy a house against you. And now they're not going to settle for anything below 100%, All
right. So
debt collection companies buy the debt from the original creditor for pennies on the dollar. So they have the ability to negotiate the settlement. Okay. So I just want everybody to understand that.
That's a huge tip. That is a huge tip. And I like your analogy earlier, though a little morbid. It's true. So if you hire a professional, so first of all,
we're military. I didn't mean to say that.
No. I think our audience is going to resonate with that one. But I'm just saying, look, guys, my credit guy, Brett, is an educator. ADPI is an educator.
Yes.
If you want to go to a next level and get somebody to help you, the service is there. But education, the education we're providing here through this is free education. Brett will help you get educated through his platform. If you choose to go the route of hiring a mechanic, for a different analogy, to have things done for you, that's the service. And because you're part of the ADPI community, there are amazing benefits to using, going through our platform that my credit guy has set up. So let's get some quick tips and we'll wrap this up here.
No
so how can you help service members directly? We've talked about it a little bit. And I want you to kind of just riff for a second on why you have a fee, which is ridiculously low, by the way, I have to say. But people probably think it's thousands of dollars or something crazy to get their credit to get their credit fixed.
Initial sign up and then a flat fee per month. While you're involved in the program. Here's the deal. The reason I decided to join this company was Sam Parker, Trish Parker, husband and wife, by the way, who founded this company, used to work for a bigger company and decided that they wanted to do things their way. I am literally hired to serve veterans, which I love. Sam felt that he was disrespecting the veteran community by not having a veteran available for them to speak to. My job is literally, if you sign up with the company, I just make sure you have a great experience. If there's any issues, problems, I go straight to Sam. I don't go to anybody else in the company. I go straight to Sam, straight to Trisha.
The owner.
What can we do to figure this out for my veteran? Yeah. So, I'm an advocate as well inside the company for veterans. And that's why I love what I do every day. I wake up every day and Sam, literally, I just get paid to learn every day, man. I'm in the books. I'm on the FTC website. I'm looking for new information. I'm looking for news I just want to pour myself into people so they don't, especially the young folks. I'm reaching out to my former coworkers who are now chief master sergeants in the Air Force. I'm like, hey, can you get this information to the young folks? Like when we're doing our feedbacks, how's your credit history isn't a part of the feedback. It needs to be. We don't need our young folks messing up like we did or hiding things from us, right? We need to have this open-ended conversations where we can, hey, how's your credit looking? That should be a common question from a supervisor. And I want to get into like working on a program where like that's literally the norm. Every feedback session with the soldier, sailor, airman, Marine is, how's your credit? What's your credit score looking like, right? And that supervisor understands, oh, let me show you my CK score. Nope, that's not the right one. Let's get you a credit report and let's go over your credit together. That's what every single person of responsibility in the military needs to be doing with their subordinates. I
love that.
I'm very passionate about.
I love that passion. That's exactly why we do what we do as well. And I think why you and we have great synergy between us. So
absolutely.
So let me ask you, we'll leave with this. What is one thing that somebody listening right now can take away other than look at your credit report and look for things? What's one thing that somebody can do to boost their credit right now?
Yeah, so we had mentioned it earlier, and I think this is the biggest thing that, like you said, you literally have an account from 1982. It's legal. Now, what I don't like is when people say, well, I've got a friend or I'm going to go to a company and buy a trade line from a company. Don't do that because now you're in jeopardy of committing bank fraud. So Brett is not advocating you to seek out.
I don't think most people know how to do that. So let's stick with the find a friend who find a family member.
So I'd like you to start with your spouse or your mom and dad or your brother. And first off, let's keep it in the family before you even go to a friend with great credit, because, I'd hate to see a friendship end because that friend didn't pay a bill and now you're affected by it, or it's, become an authorized user. Don't get the card. Don't have any access to the account. All you're doing is inheriting their history. And now your credit score is going to shoot up because now you've got a credit line. Now you've got a revolving credit, trade line. Now you have revolving credit versus installment, right? Installment is we got $1,000. We got to pay $1,000, right? Revolving is you got $5,000, and at any time you could have 100 or 5,000 on it. It's a revolving door, but you've got up to 5,000 turns in it, right? So make sure it's legit who you're talking to, who you're asking to become an authorized user. Make sure they understand what they're signing, right? Like I'm signing for you all you do is call the credit card company and they'll walk you through on how to add an authorized user. And the biggest one I want to tell people is credit utilization. People think by having a zero balance that's what they need to be at. If you have a zero balance, you're not making payments. And here's the truth. I'm only here to speak the truth. They are not making any money off of you. Right? You're paying and you're using and you're paying off. You're using and you're paying off. They're not making any interest on you. You're using their money to get what you need, right? So they're not making any interest off you and they don't like you. So here's what I tell people. Just put 1% on there and carry that for a few months and watch what it does to your credit score. I just had a buddy walk through it. His credit score shot up 32 points. He's now over 800. He was in that tricky, like 780, that high 700s. And he's like, Brett, I've got credit. I've got boom, boom. And then I look at his credit report. I'm like, hey, brother, you've got $0 balances. The only thing a guy like you could do with a high credit score is turn that light back on, turn that switch back on, and utilize a tiny piece of that credit. So
would paying your statement... Would paying your statement versus paying your balance do that as well?
So, but that all depends on how much is on there, right? You know what I mean? So,
I mean, if you've got $5,000 on a card and your statement this month is 3,000 and you're going to carry 2,000, but technically you're paying it off every month.
Yeah.
You're not going to zero balance ever.
Right.
But you're not accruing interest either.
Yes. So, and exactly. Right. So you just want to make sure that, and people are like, well, Brett, how do I make sure, I say, well, hey, if you could pay it down to zero, pay it to zero and then put some gas on your card.
Sure. Yeah.
And then pay pay, you can
pay your water bill or something.
Yeah, it's easy to pay against $100 versus $2,100, right? That's the tip for the people who are right there, who are at 730, and they could get better interest rates if they're 760 or above, right? Like you get the best interest rates after 760, not after 800. A lot of people are like, I need to be at 800 so I can get 760 is what everybody looks for. That's the baseline for all the top credit cards, the best interest rates, 760 and above.
And if you're at
your lending purposes,
and if you're at 580, get on somebody else's credit line, right?
If you're at 580, you're gonna like a rocket ship.
And if you're below 580, just call Brett.
Oh, we need to talk.
So,
because
all right,
if you're there, you might have some collections. You might have some things that we want to.
That's what you guys do.
We want to
you guys can help
some, yeah, we want to
clear
scrub
it up.
your record for discrepancies and inaccuracies, and we want to make sure all of the information on your credit report is yours. And you got to do the work, right? You're the only one that can confirm. Like, your credit report is unique to you. Like, a lot of people say, well, Brett, what I got to do to get my credit up? I don't have any idea what you look like credit wise. I can't tell you what worked for me is going to work for you. I have a different amount of credit cards. I've got different amount of utilization available to me. I've got different history. I've got longer history than you. I've got over probably 53 credit scores floating around out there on me. I'm an avid user of credit, so
yeah, absolutely.
If you shied away from credit your whole life because you had those parents that said cash is king, cash, right. Then you're going to be very different from me, so.
All right. Well, so we're going to wrap it up, but I wanted to end by just saying, if you're listening to this and you need resources, go to activedutypassiveincome.com/resources. Our book that talks about assets versus liabilities, good debt, bad debt, is available. We have a credit guide available. We have a financial blueprint if you want to create a solid financial foundation before you do these things and start investing or buying a home. That is available. It's all free. And guess what? A call with Brett is free as well. So again, activedutypassiveincome.com/resources. Brett, thank you for your time. Air Force veteran and credit magician, Brett Robinson. And he'll be on all of the ADPI social media if you guys want to get hold of him as well.
Literally on Facebook all day long. That's literally my job. Like, I'm serious. Like, people are like, what? I'm like, I'm there for you guys. So cool, I'm there for you. So you're never bothering me except after about 7 o'clock. I'm on the East Coast. After 7, like, leave me alone. I'm with my kids. I just had a baby. Right? You know what I mean? It's like, but pretty much leading all the way all day long. I'm talking to people all day long, and I love it. It is literally, I'm here. I'm a servant. So utilize me. Like, utilize me, please.
Love it.
Please.
All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for your time, and we will be in touch.